In example 6, we need to graph y is equal to negative 4 cosine of 1/3 theta, and you'll also see this theta divided by 3 plus pi over 3 enclosed in parentheses, then minus 1. We also are not given our axes, or labeled at least, like the last one, so this will be a little bit different. We're going to look through this and we're going to see what we can find out though. So I'm going to try to write this over here on the top. The amplitude is 4 and there is a reflection. We can see that over here. This piece of the equation is the amplitude. Vertical shift is down 1. So we'll go vert shift down 1. And then also, slide this to the right here, maybe you can see that a little better. We need to figure out the period. So the period is equal to 2 pi over k, which in this case is 1/3. So we'll multiply the top by the reciprocal, which is 3 over 1. So the period would be 6 pi. The phase shift is going to be c over k, which is just pi in this case. We could multiply by the reciprocal. 3 over 3 is 1, so we just have pi. And it's going to be pi to the left. So let's try to figure out a good system of labeling. And when we try to figure out a good system to label, we want to try to divide everything up into values that are nice to deal with. You can divide by 4 here, and that would give you 3 over 2 pi as an interval. That's fine. Or if you tried to keep with something a little bit more usable, then you could do pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, 5 pi, 6 pi, 7 pi, 8 pi, and then the 8 pi would go there, and then we would catch negative 5 pi here as well. So let's try that. So you could divide by 4, and you could do 3 over 2 pi for each one, but I think it'll probably work if we just do pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, 5 pi, 6 pi. I'm getting kind of hungry here. Wonder what kind of pies these are. Apple's my favorite, just so you know. In class, Pi Day 314. Try to bring some apple pie. Pecan's not bad either. We could continue back here, but we need to stop here, so well, we'll just finish it out, I guess. So this is our stopping point right here, negative 5 pi, and then 8 pi, if you want to make a little mark there for where we need to get the graph. Also, we need to shift down to 1, but the amplitude is 4. So our top line is going to be at 3, so we need a top at 3, mid at negative 1, and then bottom will be at negative 5. So let's see. If we went by 2, 4, 6, negative 2, negative 4, negative 6, I think that would cover it. And so negative 5 will be here, and negative 1 will be here, and 3 will be there, and we can actually start drawing these things now. Now it's a little bit, try to do the best job you can getting things parallel. So what you can do is you can line up your ruler on the axis right here, and then just shift down a little bit, and hopefully, if you're careful, it should be pretty good. Kind of sucks when you're not given grid lines, but you know, we can deal with it. And then here we're just going to look and see if we can get that gap to be the same. Just do a nice job drawing that. Here's our midline. And then our bottom line will be right here. And this one's tough too. Just do the best you can getting it parallel. I'm not the best in the world. As my wife knows, when I hang pictures, I have to use a level every single time, or else it's a little bit off. But anyhow, and then we're going to divide up into quarters. Now this is going to be interesting because 6 pi is 1 full period, and 3 pi would be half of a period. And we need to go right in the middle, so like right here. And there's your 3 pi over 2. And again, at home, if you made this first tick mark 3 pi over 2, then your job is pretty easy. You just draw a line right through that 3 pi over 2. But I am going to do, oops, that's a little bit better. I'm going to try to do this. So now what we can do is we can place a graph that would meet all the requirements over here except the phase shift. So we have the period as 6 pi. We have the midline, the top line, the bottom line. We know that it's a cosine curve and that it's a reflected. So it's going to start down first, then come back up, hit the midline at the first quarter. The second quarter, it's going to come up and hit the top line. And then, and these are not points, by the way, these should have just been straight marks. I don't know, maybe that bled a little bit. And then it's going to come back and hit the bottom line again. So if we drew this graph, it would look, it's not curved enough, but we'll go with it. Something like this. Pretty close. That's curves a little bit off there, but still not bad. And then we'll end up right here. So we've got one period without a shift. And then we're going to do this in a different color, and we'll do it in red again here. I think we did red for the sine curve last time. So this graph, the actual graph of it's going to be in red. So now we're going to go pi left with all these points. So here will be another one. And then pi left. Well, this distance is pi here. So we're going to be right in the middle, I think. And we can see that this distance is the same as this distance. That's the phase shift. So we're going to be right in the middle again. Oops, sorry, not right in the middle, right here. That's a bad point. 3 pi to 2 pi is pi. And we're going to come left by pi again. And then we're going to come left with this one by pi as well. So the graph will now be here. And we can draw a nice curved shape. This is a little tough now. We need to figure out how to get this thing back over to 8 pi. If you want to draw more lines, you can draw more lines. It's going to get a little confusing though. So what I like to do is I like to just figure out that first quarter is 3 pi over 2. And then what I'll do then is I'll write my next point, which should be 3 pi over 2 to the right. So from 5 pi, 3 pi over 2 is going to be right here, and that's going to hit the midline. And then another 3 pi over 2, and we're going to come up and hit the top line here, and that'll end our little graph. So however you need to get this one done, I like to just think about it in terms of where my next point's going to be. So you can do that, or if you choose, you can draw some more grid lines and such, and it gets a little busy, but that can work too. So negative pi over 2, we need to go left by 3 pi over 2. And then if we add another 3 pi over 2, I think we're at negative 4 pi here. And then actually, this graph would, let's see, then come down and hit the midline here. We don't want to actually graph this point though, so I'm going to take a guess that this point would be right about here. Kind of a weird place to stop this graph here at negative 5 pi. Maybe we should have put negative 6 pi or something, but that's what it asks us to do, so that's kind of what we have to do. You could definitely like figure out exactly what value that is. I'm gonna guess it's 1 here. Let's figure it out just for grins here. So negative 4, and we've got the cosine of 1/3 times negative 5 pi, which is negative 5 pi over 3 plus pi over 3 minus 1. Oops, and that's the cosine in there. Almost forgot one of the most important parts. Now we got negative 4 cosine of, let's see, that's negative 4 pi over 3. And then minus 1. So let's see, we'll draw ourselves a quick unit circle. Negative 4 pi over 3, I think would be here. And I think this angle is 120 degrees, I'm pretty sure. But we can actually double check if we need to. And you could do this in your calculator. You know, you could figure out, let's see, so 4 times 180 divided by 3. That's negative 240. We could add 360, and yes, we're at 120. So the reference angle for this would be 60. So if this is 1, we have negative 1/2 here. So the cosine of this angle is negative 1/2. So we've got 2 minus 1 is 1. So you could actually plot this fairly accurately if you really had to. Sort of a goofy spot to stop and start a graph, but hey, there it is, right?